Boy, that was loud. Is it because there's nobody in here or what?
Every game, I cut the things out of the paper.
Oh.
You're recording.
All right. I'd like to call to order the 5:30 p.m. City Workshop, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. Do we need to do a roll call?
I can.
Yeah, let's do it.
Mayor Preeden.
I am here.
Council President Conley.
Here.
Councilor Blum.
Here.
Councilor Letts. Councilor Ross.
Here. Okay, Councilor Letts is not with us
Is she sick?
tonight.
Sorry.
Not permanent. Okay. We only have one item on the agenda. It's review efficiency measures, development code text amendments. I would like to say that this is a pretty meaty subject, so let's try and keep it going tonight. We can ask questions anytime, but do realize that we only have an hour to go over it, and there's a lot there. So, that sound good? You're up.
All right, thank you.
Who are you, and where are you from? And
And you have.
It's been a while, hasn't it? So I want this to be informative tonight, but I also want to make sure that you guys have plenty of time to ask questions and understand these things. We've talked about these things in concept a fair bit, but as they say, the devil's in the details. So we want to make sure that when we bring this back forward to you guys for actual approval, that you understand every bit of it and understand the implications. But the background is that these are items that were recommended in the housing plan and the efficiency measures. There's quite a bit of overlap in each document. A lot of those concepts are in both documents. They're both trying to achieve housing, more housing. One document, the housing plan, is more focused towards affordable housing, but there's a lot of overlap. So just want to lead you through the specific code amendments since this is kind of your first opportunity to really see that. Let's see, did I skip ahead there? Oh, okay. The first one is the increase in the density for the multifamily residential district. The reason for this is that the feedback that we have received from stakeholders in the community who actually do the building are that our existing zoning densities are pretty on the low side, to the point where they don't really pencil for new projects to do multifamily in a lot of cases. So you can see how it implements multiple strategies of our housing plan and our efficiency measures, which haven't been adopted yet. But the idea is that we would bring these code amendments along with the adoption of those two documents. So go ahead and go forward just one.
Wow, sorry. I'm really
It's a little sensitive, isn't it?
very sensitive.
So as I mentioned, right now, the allowed density in the multifamily residential district is 7 to 15 units per acre. This proposes to increase the minimum density to 15, and the top end would be 50 units per acre. But there's a breakdown in the next slide that talks about the different ranges. So anything from 15 to 30 would be basically by right now. A developer could come in and implement that, and it's by right, meaning that there's no additional review or not additional approval required to get that density. There's a review of the building itself, but not the density. If they were going to go higher than 30 to 40, they would need a minor conditional use, which means that the staff can review the impacts of that extra density, and we can also require or impose conditions to help mitigate that extra density. It gives us a little more opportunity to review what they're doing. Gives us a little more opportunity for input. And
can we go through this one section at a time, or did you want to go through the whole thing and then go back?
whatever's most time efficient.
I'd rather go through one section at a time
Okay, so
while we're there.
when you say one section, you're talking about one theme, like get through the density. I'll get through the density thing and the MFR, and then I'll stop and I'll let you guys comment.
That answers there make the questions further on
Okay.
possibly go away. So
Sure.
that is helpful.
So just continuing along, the 30 to 40 units, as I said, would require a minor conditional use. And if you want to go 40 to 50, that's when you would, a developer would have to provide affordable housing. So we're only going to that kind of high level of density if there's a commensurate community benefit to come along with it. And that benefit would be at least 30% of the units will be affordable to people with incomes below 80% of the area median income. Or if you choose to hit a higher range of the income, 50% of the units would have to be affordable to people with incomes below 150%. So that's kind of that workforce housing element. So if you're going to go higher on the income ring, you have to provide a higher percentage of units. If you're going to hit a little bit lower on the target, you only have to do 30%. And those would have to be backed up by deed restrictions to guarantee that they're rented or sold for those meeting those income, folks meeting those income categories, as well as making sure that those units are affordable like that for at least 30 years. So it's not just a kind of a temporary thing.
When you say units, are you referring to apartments, or could they be single-family homes that are kind of real close to each other? This 30 is a lot on an acre, so I'm assuming you're talking about apartment type building.
At that point, it would be, yeah, multifamily. Yeah. So that's the key elements of the other thing to note here is that we're also raising the floor of the density. And the reason for that is because at 7 units per acre, even less than 15, developers can still do single family on really small lots. And what we're trying to do is to be able to preserve the multifamily for multifamily. Doesn't mean that they can't still provide some single family units. Like if it's a master plan development, we like to have a mix of units in those, not just all one type. So they could average the density over the whole site. So they could have, some in the 40 range and some in the, maybe 10 or less than that. But as long as the average density of that subdivision is within those boundaries, then that would be okay.
So it doesn't actually say the average density has to be, does it?
No, but that's how we often, like with I think there is some language in the master plan. This would only apply like in a master plan situation over 5 acres.
Okay.
I believe that there's a provision in there that allows you to average the density over the whole site.
So are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the apartments that we now have, what density are they at?
The apartments that are built in Sisters?
Right, because they were built to the old
Right.
standard.
Yeah, they would be less than 15 units per acre. Or you can get a conditional use approval to get up to 20. So there's some that may have taken advantage of that. But most of them are 15 or less.
Okay, so when I drive around town and look at McKinsey Meadows and look at Behind Ray's and look at by Dakotas, I can look at that and say, we are considering allowing that density to double.
Or triple with the 45, 15 times 3
Right.
is 45 if it's, yeah.
But
At least
double
double, yeah.
would be for market rate housing.
Probably, yes.
Am I making that correct assumption?
Still would have to meet setback requirements, still would have to meet parking requirements, which are constraints to fully building that out at that level. Plus unit sizes make a
What's the
difference.
point?
Unit sizes make a difference too. If you're doing smaller unit sizes, you can have a box, and if you could have 10 large units in there, or you could have a box that has 30 to 40 units in there, and still have the same massing. So a lot of it depends on how big the units are inside there. So
the housing has been built in the last 5 years, they were able to make that pencil out, even at the density levels that we are allowing now, or they wouldn't have built them, I assume.
But the price.
I know some of them were, they were required to build them, so they probably didn't make as much money on them as they would have if we hadn't required them to be built. But say the ones near Dakotas, that's new and they don't have any other single-family homes or anything in there
Right.
that I know of yet.
That's correct.
Okay, so
The
I'm
McKinsey-
trying to picture that how doubling that density would definitely allow greater, more projects to pencil out. But I have people asking me, well, we're building all kinds of apartments already at the density standards that we have now. They don't look like they're huge open space parks, they don't look, like we could double the density in that same unit and have it be anything but monstrous and ugly. So I'm trying to envision.
I'd have to check to see what the density is on the, they're talking about the 3 winds, or I guess they call them
On Felicity?
Oxbow apartments,
Right,
To see-
and
to see
they're
if they're-
not built out yet either.
to see if they may be on the low side of things too. They may be well below the 15.
I'm just trying to be able to justify approving this when someone says, well, market rate apartments are being built all over town, and we have not allowed the density to increase for them. Why do we need to do that? And I know the argument, well, but that would allow more affordable ones to be built, but it wouldn't guarantee that more affordable ones would be built
Unless they went over the 40.
unless we got up to the extreme high density, or I shouldn't say extreme, that puts a color on it that might not be, not be real,
Yeah.
but massage that a little for me.
So some of, when you're referring to lots of apartments being built around the community, I can see the Oxbow apartments, that is one. I can think of the ones that are built as part of McKinsey Meadows. Those were obviously part of a very large master plan where, I think they threw those in there because they think we had to,
Right,
or they had to, it was a requirement.
but they still had to.
But they
build up to the
can
current
kind of
standard.
economize those off across a much larger parcel. So it's not, if they had like, I don't know how big it is. It's a much larger development as opposed to a 2 or 3 acre site. What we're hearing,
Were some of those then actually at this standard? Because it was averaged? Were they denser than would have been allowed normally?
those are good questions. I'd have to
Okay.
kind of take a look into those.
And yet, people have seen the master plans for stuff coming down the road. So the public feels, or the ones that are coming to me feel,
Let me help you out.
okay,
I think we're all kind of interested in some of the history of a couple of these projects. I don't think you have to do the whole town, but if you could do maybe McKinsey Meadows and Oxbow and just kind of give us an idea of what those densities are.
That would be helpful.
I think it'd be helpful for everybody.
Okay.
And we could-
The same place.
Yeah, and then we can just, not to be critical, but just kind of get past,
I was gonna ask for
That's this part.
Ponderosa Heights too.
yeah, that's a good idea
That's
because
a- yes,
that's
that's-
affordable, right?
Yeah.
So,
that was built so
Enough
long
that you-
ago, it might have
Yeah.
been different standards.
But I had that exact same thought. I noticed on the Oxbows, if that's the one by Dakota, that a lot of those, I think they're say 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So they've got some large units in there, so the density may indeed be lower because of the 3 bedroom.
sorry to give you homework, but I think
No.
it's something we're all interested in.
No, that's fine.
And so on a development like that, where they had multiple apartment sizes,
Yeah.
aside from scaling down the size of the apartments, which they may not want to do, they would have to go up
Right.
under the new standards, an additional 4.
Okay. Does that help?
Yes, yeah, that's something I always want to be able to justify. The thinking behind why it's important and, how this all, and I was struggling with that, looking around.
And I think the other thing that might help would help is going back to those photos we had when we were going through the comp plan about, here's a photo of this project and it's this density.
Yeah.
Just kind of matching that up a little bit.
But it's
Because it's
super
visual.
helpful if it's local, though.
It
I mean,
is.
because you have the sense of how, you can see how it fits into the neighborhood and where you would go, oh, that, that seems a little tight already. And if it's already allowed at this higher, lower density, then, yeah.
It's, we do have photos like that together. It's somewhat hard to find examples in sisters because there just aren't a whole lot of them. Although it was interesting, we did include the apartments on Adams Avenue. What are they called? Those over by the laundromat. And surprisingly enough, those were around 30 units per acre because not the new ones. I think they're older ones.
With the laundry?
By the laundromat, what are those called? Yeah.
Those were.
So they got an exception or
Well,
something?
they're older, so they probably were
Oh, it
built
was
maybe.
before a certain standard.
Yeah,
Put it.
yeah. So,
Okay, well, that's good.
so it was
to
a
know.
pretty, it was a higher, it kind of surprised us. It's a higher density than what would be allowed. And I don't think anybody would look at it and go, that's out of scale. So we can provide some more examples when we bring this back, because we do have a lot of them. They're from cities, and they tend to be more modern architecture, which we're not, going for. But we did provide a collection of those to kind of give the Planning Commission an idea of what different densities could look like, and some of them are kind of surprising in terms of the massing, that they're not as big as you think. So
Just for the sake of time,
Good.
anything else on?
good to know when we could bring it back.
Yeah, thank you.
The end result was people were in favor of maybe allowing significant density if it was guaranteed to be affordable housing. But if it wasn't, then I don't know that we need that, is kind of the sentiment I was getting.
Yeah, we could. So one option is to you could tweak the, you could say 30 to 50
50 is.
has to be affordable. That's an option, or I mean, anything's possible at this stage to
Right.
tweak it to how we want to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's keep moving. One thing we're proposing is to remove the floor area ratio requirement. That's the ratio of how much square footage you have to your lot size. And it's just not a real great tool to utilize to measure building mass. We think with the architectural guidelines and the height and the setbacks and the parking requirements, it's a much better tool, because in some cases, when you have a really small lot, the FAR requirement really limits you. And if you have a big lot, you could have a really out of scale building. So it was the recommendation that we just go with our other tools that we have in place. And then the other request or proposal is that in the MFR zone only, that multifamily units be allowed to utilize the 35 to 50 foot space for habitable space. Right now, our code does allow buildings to go up to 50 feet, but only the 35 to 50 feet can't be habitable space. So it's just kind of like taking advantage of some wasted space to get some units.
And in practicality, that means 4 floors?
Most likely, yeah. 5 floors would be really small floors, floor to ceiling heights.
For the little people?
Yeah.
And just so people know, I'm in this business, and the Florida area ratios are disappearing across the state for the same reason, just to get a little more density. The calculations were difficult sometimes and took a lot of time, and it took a lot of staff time to make sure that the calculations by the designers.
So they're going far away.
They're going far away. But anyway, I just want to let you know there's nothing unusual about that. And Ben got rid of theirs last year, I think. So.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, let's keep moving here. This is what it would look like in code language. Basically, just doing the exact same thing I was just mentioning. So
Straight through.
we can go move through that. I just threw this in there. I forwarded you guys the results of the survey, and it was interesting results. And I just wanted to focus in on kind of the ones that are pertinent to tonight's discussion. And increase allowed densities in the multifamily zone. 1, no support. 3, neutral. 5, full support. So I think we're about 3.34 in there. I think this one is just sisters residence. If you notice the difference, we did cumulative results, and then we kind of did city sisters, and then outside of city sisters. And there's actually a little more support for these concepts within city residents versus outside of.
But with the standard deviation as high as you have there, you got 3.34 with a standard deviation of, I think, the next one down of 2, and that one's it's a little hard to see on the focus, 1.59, I think that is. Just what happens when you're married to a statistician. That means that the range could be significantly higher, and so especially the variance is just, doesn't mean anything, it's just the standard deviation squared. So it would have been nice if they'd shown us a median and a mean, so we'd have a better sense of where those numbers actually landed, rather than the sort of standard deviation, the scientist's view of things, which doesn't help us a hell of a lot. But there is there's a lot of variance in there.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can say that the town supports that exclusively, because it could also be a number of them on the other side of the 3. And a number on the other side of the 3.
Well, and 3 is neutral, you know.
Yes, right. So, but I just want to advise us to be careful with these. I found them to be very unhelpful, because in reality, the standard deviations with a small sample size were all over the place.
Good to know. All right, let's keep moving. This was a strategy both in our housing plan and our efficiency measures to provide zoning incentives for affordable or workforce housing. The consultants provided some draft code language. I thought it looked very familiar. Turns out we already have some affordable density bonus affordable housing standards in our code. So what we're going to do is just kind of tweak them a little bit to go ahead and go forward. And basically what it boils down to is that if it provides definitions for workforce housing units, affordable housing units, and low-cost affordable housing units. Workforce is your 80 to 150, like we just mentioned. Affordable is 50 to 80, and then low cost is 50 and below. So you can see if you provide, you get for each unit of workforce housing you provide, you get a 0.5 bonus unit in your development. Affordable housing, for every one you provide, you get 1 bonus unit, and you get 2 bonus units if you provide a low-cost affordable housing unit. We have this in our code now. I'm not sure, maybe some folks that have been here longer have seen it implemented. I'm not sure that it ever has been implemented.
I think we did with Mackenzie Meadow.
Mackenzie Meadows.
And that's why they had the 4 30-year no interest loans.
Okay.
And so,
And Peter Hall's property had to have 4. We ended up with 3 and an ADU. And then the land trust core with Shane Lundgren's.
Did they take advantage of this?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and a
That's
bonus,
history. That's 8 years, 6 years.
I'm just curious, a bonus unit means they can increase the density without having to go through
Yeah, it's just by right.
Additional
You
use,
get that. You get that by right.
right.
I
I just
did
want to be
get
sure
one free.
that's how I saw it too, but I
Yeah.
wanted to be sure I was reading it the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
On that, will you be listing, like you have in the handout you gave us, that 80% of the AMI, 150%, so people understand?
We're going to actually add new definitions in our code that would define those ranges specifically.
That's important. I get asked that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time we define those in our code.
Just so I'm clear on that, those are standard ranges at this point, right, for affordable housing? I mean, that's like everybody in the state's kind of using the same ones, and
Yeah, pretty standard. Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They're not special to sisters.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and skip that one. That's not readable. That was just a snapshot of the existing code provision that we had in there.
Oh, yeah, I saw them.
Not trying to sneak up.
Real fast.
Not trying to sneak anything by you there.
Yeah, okay. I could read them.
This code amendment would allow properties that are currently required to have mixed use in the downtown commercial zone. Like if they want to build residential, they have to provide commercial on their site too. That's the current requirement. The feedback that we've received is that having to provide commercial can be a barrier to providing residential housing units. The demand for commercial has gone down, and not everybody wants to do it. So we looked at areas where it might make sense to get rid of that or to give some relief on that requirement. We didn't want to do it right down in our core downtown area where mixed use makes sense. We'd always want some retail element on the bottom for kind of that pedestrian environment, and then probably Hood and Main on the other sides. But there's some areas, like there's a parcel north of here, between here and the post office, that's zoned downtown commercial that may not be appropriate for commercial.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised with that zoning if they,
Are we creating a new zone, or are we just specifically codifying that certain areas outside the actual commercial area of downtown?
The latter, or no, the latter. Make sure you get there. Carrie, if you could go to the next one, I'll show you the map.
Thanks.
It would be an overlay zone, basically, and which is,
That's kind of
yeah,
what I was going
yeah,
for.
yeah. This map would be incorporated into the development code. And you can see everything in Salmon is downtown commercial, and currently, with the exception of B&A are along Adams Avenue, and they have their own set of unique standards. But everywhere else currently would require any residential units to be mixed use. And so we are proposing that the areas in C would be areas that would be excluded from that requirement. Doesn't mean that they can't still do mixed use if they wanted to. It just wouldn't be a requirement if they wanted to do pure residential. And those areas we felt were kind of off the beaten path a little bit from the downtown main pedestrian area. B&A are already in our code with different development standards, and FIR being the dividing line, that everything west of FIR could have a full range of housing types, but doesn't have to have commercial. And then everything east of FIR in A basically is limited to single family and duplex. I think it's up to duplex, but nothing more than that. So with this map, we would kind of use it as the opportunity to better notate those unique development standards there. It's interesting. I was just looking at C today on Dial, and that's the Hoyt parcel. That actually has property. It has a little piece of property that fronts Adams Avenue, so they're already kind of exempt from the requirements of commercial. So C would actually become part of B in my view.
is the western theme required in all of this commercial area?
Correct.
So any housing that would be interspersed, would that fall over to them?
Yes, it would
housing-
continue. That theme would continue.
Even on the housing?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's applied per the zone district, if I'm not mistaken. I can follow up on that too, but I think it's applied by the zone district, but it could be just applicable to the commercial in that DC zone. I'll make sure I follow up on that.
Yeah, because I can see where that might be kind of awkward. Be a good spot for a saloon.
Yeah.
Over at my house, or under my house.
Okay, any further questions on this one?
Will you tell me again what an MCU is?
Minor conditional use.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Should have written that down.
That's staff level, right?
that is staff level review. Yeah.
And that other C on the, down by East Portal, that's in front of, across from Les Schwab, that big chunk of land in there.
Yep. Right. Are you talking to a specific parcel in C in the lower left corner?
Yeah, see that kind of designated area, that looks like it comes from Pine
Yeah,
all the way over to the edge of the city.
that's correct. Right there at Hood and 242.
So while some of that's already developed, there is some vacant land there.
I'm sorry.
Some of that's already developed, but there are some pretty good chunks of.
Yes,
vacant land in there.
correct. Yep.
Okay, we're halfway through the time. Are we about halfway through the thing?
Well,
Getting
the
there.
most kind of detailed one is probably the last one, unfortunately.
Okay.
But, this is a strategy that's both in our housing plan and our efficiency measures. And you guys have probably heard the term middle housing. That's kind of a catchy, trendy term, I guess, and it talks about those units that you don't see a lot in communities anymore. You know, we build a lot of single family units really well, and we build a lot of apartments really well, but, you know, all the units types in between, you know, don't get a whole lot of attention anymore. And they are valuable types of housing units that can provide some, I wouldn't say it could potentially provide affordable housing, but more affordable than your single family, and just different housing types and housing sizes for different people, that different demands. So this is a strategy that's being utilized quite a bit around the state and the country. In fact, you guys have probably heard of House Bill 2001, which was requirements for communities over 10,000 to be able to require or to allow duplexes in single-family zones, and then if you're over 25,000, you have to allow up to quadplexes in your single-family zones. Because we're below that threshold, we weren't required to do this, but it was thought of as a potential tool to meet some of our housing needs. It's a way to maybe get some units into our community. And they fit in well into walkable neighborhoods if designed right. So it's something we want you guys to, or we're putting in front of you to consider. So go ahead. So what are they? I kind of talked about what they are. They're house scale buildings that fit seamlessly into existing residential neighborhoods and support walkability, locally serving retail and public transportation options. They provide solutions along a spectrum of affordability to address the mismatch between the available U.S. housing stock and the shifting demographics, combined with the growing demand for walkability.
What is a zero lot line dwelling?
A zero lot line basically means you don't have any setbacks. Your lot is basically your footprint of your house.
It's not a shared wall.
Not necessarily a shared wall, but
But it could be like a duplex that has a lot line going through it, all of a sudden becomes a townhouse.
Well, my question would be different. If you look at residential zone where you have setbacks of 5 feet on the homes, so there's a 10-foot setback between each house. Someone goes in on a vacant lot with a zero lot line, now you've got a 5-foot setback from that house that exists to the new structure.
yeah.
I would have problems with that.
I've seen some examples where those are utilized where if you have a zero lot line that the house next door to you actually would be required to be setback 10 feet. And I've seen it where you actually have an easement on your neighbor's property so that you can paint your house and maintain your house. We're not talking about any of that here, but there are communities that have done that.
Well, but you have zero lot line dwellings in here. I'm reading the 2.2.2.
We must have different standards. It's not been utilized since I've been here. You're right, it does say zero lot line dwellings. Sometimes I learn things about my code, when I see them up on the wall. I didn't realize we had that, but it's not been, nobody's proposed it or taken advantage of it
It
since I've been
doesn't mean
here.
that somebody won't. If it's in the code, it could be allowed. And
I'm thinking that there's probably specific standards to zero lot
you're
line
not
homes.
making me comfortable.
He'll check.
Honestly,
He'll
Well, this is why it's a works.
Usually they're duplexes where
Oh, yeah, I
when they go
understand.
through, there's a common wall.
I understand that, but.
Just make sure that that's what it is.
But in reality, if we are going to consider allowing multiple family units in residential neighborhoods, we need to be sure to preserve the character of the residential neighborhoods, and some of that is the lot line setback.
Right.
Yep.
The interesting thing to note about this is that it's already in our code. It's not something new that we're proposing to add. But I'll get some information when we come back. I'll brief you on what that means.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And there might be an example with Hayden Homes, the triplexes that they have. You were there, you
Yep.
were there.
They share a
They
common,
share
a
a
common
garage wall.
garage, yep. And they're
Yeah.
there's a 10-foot strip in between them,
Right, and maybe that's the reference that we have in code.
yeah. But like I said,
Yeah, well,
I think when we start going in this direction, we need to be clearer about what we mean and what we don't mean.
yeah, it's
Yep.
different when it's a new master plan
Yeah,
than infill, when you get into infill, because I know the rhetoric that says, you know, it will seamlessly flow, you know, well, yeah, well, we got to make sure it seamlessly flows in with the existing neighborhood.
Right.
That's important.
So, yeah, it's not something new that we're proposing to add, but it's in our existing code right now, and we will make sure that,
Yeah, while we're there.
make sure we understand that you guys understand, and I'll bone up on it between now and then and on what the requirements are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the thing to note on this in our code is the changes to the minimum lot size. So you can see kind of under development standard, we're talking about minimum lot area per unit. And then adding, right now, currently in the residential district, only single family and duplex are allowed, in addition to attached dwellings like townhomes are allowed. But what would be new here is allowing triplex and fourplex, and then cottage development. We already have a cottage development code, but it's only applicable to the multifamily right now. And then this would reduce some lot sizes. The single family lot size currently is 6,000, proposed to go down to 4,500. That was a discussion that we had with the planning commission, that if we're going to be doing efficiency measures and infills, employ these efficiency measures, that we should be looking at single family lot sizes too. So that even though single family is not considered a middle housing, it is proposed to be changed along with this. And then on the right, those are not dwelling unit sizes. Those are 3,000 square feet per dwelling, 3,000 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit. What the feedback we're getting is that our standards are our lot sizes are pretty high, and nobody would really take advantage of them to build these kinds of units with the lot sizes, minimum lot sizes that we have now. So basically, reducing the lot sizes incentivizes these types of units to be built, if those are the kind of things that we want to have in our residential and multifamily neighborhoods. The recommendation of our consultant was to lower some of the lot sizes to actually make, because it was his opinion that our lot sizes, nobody would do that. Nobody would do these types
Nobody
of
could
units.
take advantage.
Nobody would take advantage of it.
Do we have any idea how many lots we have existing in the Old Town area that this would allow them to be divided into?
So are you asking like vacant lots or?
Well, we've got a lot of little old houses on great big lots. Are they all going to be torn down and fourplexes put in?
I could get that date.
and that is happening.
No, my house is, a manufactured home on a 10,000 square foot lot. So I could literally cut it in half and maybe put 2 duplexes on it at 3,000 square feet. If I could fit them. Of course, there's lot shapes and all that stuff that you have to
Driveways and
think about.
access.
And not everything we have is square.
Right.
So anyway.
We could, I don't have that number like handy, but that's something that we could bring back to you. Our buildable lands inventory looked at, how much vacant lots we had residential, and they also noted partially vacant ones,
That's
ones
what mine
ones
was.
that may have potential for scraping off and redevelopment, so we could provide that info.
Especially in the old town area, where some of the homes before the sewer went in, have large lots due to septic systems and things like that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of those.
And I would like, so I don't know how we can make this happen, but I do think it's important to know, if we implement these efficiency measures that you're seeing here, lot size and everything else, what does that do to the buildable lands inventory? Does it mean that we are much closer to our goal that we set, and it would mean that we wouldn't have to be considering a UGB expansion or a smaller UGB expansion? Those are things that I think, this is all great conceptually, but I'm having a very hard time overlaying it on the community and giving a sense of, A, how it will change the character, because it will, and B, what do we gain? and what do we gain is more important to me than the rest, because if we don't gain a lot, then changing the character is something I'm uncomfortable with.
That's a great question, and that is something that we are going to provide you when we bring the efficiency measures back to you. We've kind of been trying to figure out which of these tools are supportable by the community and the council, and then taking that and going, realistically, if we employ this, how many units are we going to net out of this? It's an important exercise to go through if we're going to consider your urban growth boundary amendment, because we need to know, how many of those units our housing needs analysis said we're going to have to provide. If we employ these tools, how many of those units can we provide in our community, and how many do we think we can't? And that equates to our UGB.
That's helpful, and I'm asking the question because there was an implication in the material we received that the things that we're seeing, you will ask for approval of by the end of December. And I need information in order to be comfortable with whether or not I would be willing to do that, as opposed to pushing it into next year.
Okay. All right.
I have one last question
Sure.
about the 4,500 square foot residential unit size. Can you give me an example in town? Would that be like the Desert Rose, the Habitat making those, what was it, 4 lots into 7? Would that be about that size of a lot?
4,500?
Yeah. Should have asked you that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying to
You want to know what, you want to
conceptualize.
kind of have an example of what a 4,500 lot looks like in the
Yeah,
community?
yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
When you're getting the pictures of the density and
Yeah.
stuff,
I can tell you some that are even less than that,
Okay.
for comparison, like the Saddlestone lots.
Those are smaller.
Those are, the ones on I think on the north side are 3,300.
Oh, the long, narrow
Yeah,
ones, okay.
yeah. So we can give you an example of the 4,500 next time, though.
So it is doable. Small front yard, parking in the back, and a side lot that's about 5 feet. Okay.
I think the townhomes on Washington those lots are 30 by 110.
They are, those are the old platted lots, original platted lots.
Those are
Oh, the new ones, right
Yeah.
by Pine, okay.
Yep.
those are 3,500?
3,300. They're 30 by 110.
Those kind of tall, skinny ones,
Yeah.
they're all right there by
And
the.
they're all 10 feet apart, 5 foot on either side. They don't look terrible. I mean, that's what they are. They're
Yeah.
townhomes, basically.
It helps.
What did you say? 30 by 100?
30 by 110 are their lot sizes,
Thank you.
3,300.
Yep, thanks.
Math.
Any other questions on this part? So, this is the multifamily, has similar standards. The first one was the residential zone. This is the multifamily zone. So it's basically the same. So if we were to implement these, what we'd want to make sure we incorporate into our development code is some design standards to make sure that they fit in properly. The model code for House Bill 2001 just came out, and MIG, the consultant that we're utilizing, Matt Hasty, actually worked on that, so he's pretty knowledgeable. So Carrie, if you wouldn't mind going forward, maybe go to the next one. So they applied some minimum design standards on these things. They couldn't go too far because they were worried that it was going to defeat the purpose of the bill in the first place. If they added too many design requirements onto it, then they weren't going to be more affordable, which was kind of the goal. So, but we don't have those strings attached. We can do whatever we want because we're not required to do it. But this is from the model code. It has things such as like making sure that you have an entryway that's visible from the street. It's not too far back from the front facade. That's important. I'll just run through these really quick. Or if you do have one, I don't know why anybody would want to do this, but if you had an angle at 45 degrees, this is a model code, and we can tweak this a little bit. But or if you had a situation where you had a attached or a duplex or had 2 units on the same lot, where you could have a common, you can see down below where you have a little sidewalk coming off the street, and you have a common entryway in the courtyard there. That's also acceptable. entryway, or a front porch, open onto a front porch of at least 25 square feet. These are all designed to make sure that if we do incorporate these on these smaller lots, that they're not just, that you don't just see a big garage door. That's all. We don't want to just see that. We want to make sure that they, or have some transparency, that they look more neighborly and fit in. It also has things such as a minimum of 15% of the front facade has to be windows or transparent elements, so that we don't get blank walls along the street. There are requirements that preferably these things are accessed off of an alley if you have one. If you do have an alley, they would be required to access off the alley, and you could have all the garage space off the back, and then the front could be reserved for windows and front porches and things that fit into neighborhoods a lot better. But if you don't have an alley, then you can't, the garage separated from the street properly. Oh, that's a different scenario. But B, the combined width of all the garages and outdoor on-site parking and maneuvering space cannot exceed 50% of the street frontage. So you see, each unit has only like a single car garage. So if they're on a narrow lot like that, they couldn't take up the whole facade with driveway or garage space.
Can we require that they keep their car in the garage? Never mind.
I don't think so.
Hey, 12 years and I've got 2 cars in my garage, first time ever.
Well, we've got 2 cars in our
You
garage.
got too much time
too.
on your hands.
Hey,
All right.
took a lot of
We
time.
couldn't until we bought the next.
Okay.
So moving along, the driveway approaches must comply with the following: must not exceed 32 feet per frontage. Driveway approaches may be separated when located on a local street. Lots with more than one frontage, like if they're on a corner, must access from the lowest transportation classification. If abutting an approved alley, access must be taken from the alley. Lots with frontages only on collectors and arterial streets must meet the jurisdiction's access standards. Triplexes and quadplexes on lots with frontages only on local streets may have either 2 driveway approaches not exceeding 32 feet in total width on one frontage, or 1 maximum 16-foot wide driveway approach per frontage. So these are those are some standards, examples of standards that we can apply to these types of development. I think it goes on to provide some more requirements. This has to do with architectural design. So this applies to single-family attached design, which means like townhomes. And this is the model code, and they only allowed them to require 2. They must have at least 2 of the following features on their facade. We could say you have to do all of them, or you have to do 4 of them, or we have the flexibility. But things such as roof dormers, 4 feet in width, a balcony a minimum of 2 feet in depth, a bay window that extends from the facade a minimum of 2 feet, entryway that is recessed. Those are all features to make the front facade more interesting to the street and to the
But
passenger.
all of those features add cost.
That's very true. So there's a balance there. Yeah.
An alley question.
Yeah.
Thinking about our lots in town that we were talking about a little while ago. Oftentimes the alley goes and disappears as it goes across the lot, then picks up maybe 2 or 3 streets later. Are those right-of-ways all in there, even though the public has been using them as part of their property? So are all of our alleys contiguous, or do they actually have breaks in them?
Some do.
Some do?
Consistent.
Pretty consistent?
Yeah, there's some weird spots here and there where got moved into private ownership for whatever reason. Yeah, for the most part.
Okay,
Behind
yeah,
the
just curious.
Cottonwood.
Pardon?
Behind the Cottonwood Cafe.
Yep,
Is one of those
is
weird
one of
ones.
those, yep.
Kind of dead ends in a spot.
But actually, that's a 12-foot right away all the way through there.
Yeah.
So where it doesn't go through, if they develop that lot, they would be required to put that alleyway through?
If it's unimproved, it has to be improved.
Thanks, I just was curious. It's a bit of a curiosity question that does apply to something now.
Yeah.
All right, 10 minutes, Scott. If we need to go a little late, that's okay, but,
I got through those quicker than I thought we would.
oh, good.
Yeah, are there any other questions on those? I mean, I threw a lot of information at you, and it's
I
new
do have a
stuff to.
question. So thank you for listening and bringing back some facade points for us to consider, because the last time we discussed it, that was one of the concerns we had, was the look. So there's an article in the Nugget today talking about, well, we need Western facade homes. Right or wrong, I don't know. We do not require a Western theme building outside of the downtown commercial, true?
That's correct.
So if planning commission, city, and council want to have an overlay that all of the residents that are further to be built, that would be something for the planning commission to look at, an overlay of a Western theme motif for personal homes. Yes, no, is that legal, not legal?
Yeah, as long as those standards are clear and objective.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't just say must evoke a Western design kind of theme without saying,
You'd have to give parameters.
you have to get pretty specific with what the requirements are.
But
Well,
it goes back to Andrea's comment that
Yeah.
downtown commercial, it is required, and we are approving those, and we're looking at those.
That's what I was going to follow up on. I know it's applicable to, I thought it was applicable to all things in downtown commercial, but it might just be commercial in downtown, or mixed use in downtown commercial.
and somebody who would want that would have to say, well, 3/4 of our town's already built. So interspersing little Western things, okay.
We're just gonna build them all and all have an outhouse that isn't really an
Yeah.
outhouse. We got it all covered.
Put the moon in.
You reckon?
I think you're referring to an
Is that
article.
And a hitch and.
An art-
Is that a letter to the editor?
No, it was in an article.
Oh, okay.
Well, not an
In
article, a
in an
column.
email that we got.
No, it was in a column.
Bill
in the
Bartlett?
Nugget today.
Yeah, I
Bill?
got an email with it.
The bunkhouse, I believe,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
maybe.
You don't
Yeah.
read the paper, right?
I haven't read mine yet either.
Yeah.
I was too busy celebrating my victory.
Okay,
4 years, 4 years.
all right.
Okay.
Where are we at?
That's it.
Okay, so that's next steps, if there's not any more questions, or,
I think I want to hear next steps.
okay? Good? We're on time, cool.
Okay.
Next steps.
The plan is to bring to the planning commission, along with the efficiency measures in the housing plan, those would go first, and then the code amendments would go after that, and then the same thing with council on the 30th. So that, yeah, that's the plan.
And the end point, are we gonna be able to make that this year? Is that, I mean, might as well figure that out. Is that,
If we can make it this year,
yeah, I mean, that's not the end point, right? Oh, it is the end point, okay.
yeah.
All right.
So when are we going to look at the information that you are gathering for
The
us?
30th as well,
So we will look
Before
at
the
it.
planning commission.
yeah.
After.
Well, it would
I
be,
mean, after, yeah.
it would be the 30th. We'll start off with the, you'll have in your packet all the final draft of the housing plan and efficiency measures, plus the development code amendments following that.
So we better have plenty of time
Yeah.
if we want to review it and approve it in the same meeting. And any information you can head out ahead of time.
Yeah, I was,
So that we can tweak it or
And ask questions.
ask questions so that
Yeah.
you're not blindsided by.
I think Carrie's got some.
That packet's gonna go out very early because it'll go out before Thanksgiving, based on the
Okay.
date of the meeting. So you're gonna get that probably
And I'll try and
Wednesday before
But
Thanksgiving.
ask my questions before the meeting.
in my case, some of the things we've asked you to clarify would be helpful to have that prior to
Yeah.
the meeting so that we don't.
Right.
We don't start going down some path that we don't need to go down, because I'll take you there if I have to.
Yeah, that's what we want to.
Reckon?
Yeah.
Get back with any questions before.
It's
the
better,
meeting.
it's better to let me know ahead of time.
Yeah. You've been warned.
All right, any final questions? Scott, good job. That was a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Good job. And a good packet too, that stuff in the
Yeah.
packet was
Yeah.
helpful.
It was excellent.
All right, thanks for your
Thanks for doing that.
comments.
And I think we'll just take a break until city council meeting.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 6:30 City Council regular meeting, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. I called it order. Let's do Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Roll call, Carrie.
Mayor Preden?
I'm here.
Council President Conley?
Here.
Councilor Blum?
Here.
Councilor Letts? Councilor Ross?
Present?
All right. Councilor Letts is not here today. Need approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So moved. All right, good. Visitor communication, how many do we have?
Just Michael today.
Michael? Got your 3 minutes.
Be over here, wasn't it? 2 nights ago, I was speaking here from my subconscious dream state. Yesterday, I thought I was going to repeat what I told you. Today, I'm too exhausted to try to get it clarified on paper with time limits to do it justice. 2 people are in what I told you in the dream. A same-age European I met 5 years ago, and a young child who's being damaged by those around him. Plus society, which is not consciously real, which goes without saying, as the PhD and father from the European region I spent an evening with when he was off the Pacific Crest Trail, fully understood. Had not even thought about him for a long time until 2 nights ago. Also mentioning justice. This is not what you people do for me, though at the end of the dream, one of you, who's female, finally did step up like a real human being. Which is interesting, because I do not generally operate on hope or fantasy in dream state, nor while my eyes are open. The youngster in the dream he pops into my subconscious when awake or unawake, asking me a question and is confused, often asking me, happens a lot, and is confused or indignant. Interesting, I'm the one most internally concerned, and none of you here and out in society as a whole have taken seriously action on my part. How do you sleep at night? Perhaps this world's biggest amazement to me. Now I'm going to state the name of a person I've referred to here before. Lala Dabari, who left her body October 1st, 2020 at 17 years old. Being in her presence the first time was an immediate, real connection, not like the sort of connecting I've done with others, recognizing their part of the lie and needed a permanent fork in the road. With Lala, the daily lie was an alien species, troubling, and when she spoke to me, nothing's manufactured nor created. I would cut off my hand for what happened not to have happened. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned how I, so inappropriately, tapped an expert on appropriate behavior on the front of the shoulder. I also mentioned I did this before, subconsciously for my soul. The person I told that to, along with my long history of existing in a rape-fest, dead conscious sociopathic society, which she could directly understand, was Lala. her response was trying to awaken the dead. Her words. And on hearing what I still seek after many years, which you've heard, keep at it and don't quit. Her words. You should be a profound embarrassment to yourselves.
Thank you, Michael. All right, consent agenda is the next item on the list.
Move approval consent agenda?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 4-0, very good. All right, on to council business. What? All right, on to other business. Let's do staff comments. Joe, just hit it.
Okay. So just a few things here. Regarding the Sustainable Cities Year program, I've engaged with the particular class that we're involved with in the budgeting and answering a lot of their good questions. So that's been a neat, thorough process. They're asking a lot of questions, so it's good. They're covering a lot of bases. We're continuing our recruitment efforts with the Public Works Department. We have an interview tomorrow for one position, and we hope to have a little bit more interest in the near future here. Let's see, the Scott Langton was here, as you know, last week. We had 2 people attend, which is about average. We're trying to bring some excitement, but I think the individual was kind of interested in knowing how her taxes were calculated, and we show her codes and things like that. So it was, I think, rewarding for her and value added. So, kudos to them. They put a lot of effort into that. They bring all the reports and a lot of information you can glean from. So, and then Carrie and I met with the Sisters Cold Weather Shelter yesterday for the second time. Had a really good meeting with them. I think we've been really growing a positive relationship with Molly and Richard there, I believe his name is, and just kind of connecting them with some local districts and associations that they can use and utilize. So yeah, overall good positive meeting there.
So do they have any place for cold weather shelter?
So they've got some options. They didn't articulate anything specific to us. I think they talked a little bit about the meal process and just taking care of people perhaps that are in structures or shelters already, and some alternatives with the library and warming and cooling shelters. Actually, they're looking at this more long term as well, of course. So that was positive. And campground's close to the winter. Paul's crew winterized the campground, and so Julie and Paul and I will have a good debrief on some things that we can improve in terms of operations there. But I think we're in good shape until January. I think 3rd is when we'll have the reservations go live, or 2nd. We've already had a lot of interest for that, so that happens fast.
That's only like a month and a half away.
Yeah, it's a mad dash. It's pretty amazing. It's always kind of fun to report what some of that activity was to you all following that council meeting. So,
So are you gonna have more info like on the 30th or the 14th, like December 14th? Is that, you're gonna kind of debrief and maybe come up with some stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at things, how that kiosk worked. There's always a handful of things, fire pits, logistics, things like that. We have some camp hosts that are interested and kind of solidified their position, so that's a huge relief. That's by far the earliest we've ever had that. Things like we've had speed bumps in the past, or just a lot of small knick-knack things.
Okay. Awesome. Does anybody have any more questions or anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, it's been a while. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. I can push you down the list if I have to.
No, we're good.
All right.
Okay, just wanted to give you a couple updates on some stuff we're working on. So the East Portal master plan, we are down to the 3 concept layouts. Kittleson presented those to the Public Works Advisory Board last night. They had some good suggestions for them. We got the open house next Wednesday. Please tell all your friends there's no good football on, so they can come in 4 to 7, no World Series. Yeah, spend some time with us in Kittleson. They'll have their crew there as well. They're going to have, I think, at least 10 boards around and then comment forms for the public to be able to weigh in, and then they can take those home actually. And I think we're going to take them till right about Thanksgiving. So
Just to let you know, I let Panda Brothers know today and
Great.
put something up at Dakota's. So
awesome.
thanks for Carrie's suggestion to do so, because I was in here before lunch. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. We want to get as many people as we can there because that is a very important project that the community needs to weigh in on.
Remind me of the start time again?
4 o'clock.
That's what I thought.
So 4 to 7, swing in anytime. Yep,
All you got to do is tell Lance. He'll tell everybody.
perfect. Just wanted to give you a little update on our solar project up at the treatment plant on how that's functioning for us. We got about 3 months worth of data. Obviously, it was the maximum production months for producing the power, was also maximum consumption. So, because we're running our big irrigation pumps, but at the end of the day, we are saving about pretty close to about $1,000 between the two systems. So that means we are not paying a bill for HQ. We actually get a credit that we can then transfer over to our treatment plant meter. And there our usage is basically the same, but our bill is less. So we're tracking that. We'll see how we're doing as we go into winter. Obviously, we're going to be producing less, but we will be, taking a look at that and tracking it. I got Jackson just basically analyzing it monthly. And we'll, I think after 6 months or maybe a year, come back and give you guys some good data to look at.
Yeah. Is it in an Excel spreadsheet? Because that makes Joe and I really happy.
Yeah.
It will be. Jackson likes
And
Excel.
Jackson enjoys the
Well,
Excel
yeah, yes.
program
I
as
will
well,
talk to
so.
him tomorrow when I bring donuts.
Yeah.
Can you throw some Venn diagrams and things like that?
I don't know if I'm part of this project.
No, they're pivot tables. That's what we.
Pivot tables
that's what
are-
we like in Excel. Pivot.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
This meeting.
So it'll be good, some good stuff to geek out on. I'm obviously really interested in our ROI,
And how long they'll pay them?
how conservative they were when they gave us the estimate of,
20 years?
basically is what they said.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the number that you get every.
What we're seeing now with max production is like half of that. So,
Yeah.
but we need to look at a full year really to have a good idea.
I'd be interested in
Yep.
seeing that too, so thank you.
Yeah, for future projects as well.
Yeah, start plugging in the numbers.
Yep, definitely.
Well, and that site is perfect for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even through the winter, you're gonna get a lot more than I'm getting on mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are the two things I wanted to brief you on. If there's anything else, I'd be more than happy to
Okay,
chat.
I have a question.
sure.
Today's nugget was just chock full of information, and I was gobsmacked to read that, I'm going to assume the Park Advisory Board must have approved boulders to go into Village Green for the veterans' additional roll call, because it didn't come to us.
Didn't come to me.
I was not a topic of the Parks Advisory
No.
Board meeting last week.
So they magically appeared?
No.
Or it?
That might have been an existing boulder.
It was an existing boulder.
Yeah.
They took it out, and a couple of guys from Band of Brothers actually cut out where the plaque's going themselves.
How'd they
And
get
they-
it out?
I don't know.
I
Or maybe they did it on site.
don't think they cut it, they brought it out. I think they did it on site.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they basically had to make an inlay so they could put the
Right.
new thing on there.
So
They did all the work
was
on
there.
site, what I
Yeah.
saw, yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense,
And-
because, they're 80.
There was a bench too that you were going to address,
The
a memorial bench, you were gonna work on it?
bench is in Barclay Park. It's already there.
No, I think.
Is there gonna be
was-
another one?
Yeah, I thought so, and I thought you
They-
were
they-
dealing with it.
Not me personally,
Okay,
yeah.
it's a couple months ago.
I
Okay,
don't remember.
okay.
We can look into it and bring it to the Parks Advisory Board as at least a heads up. Yeah, no problem, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Thanks, Paul.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Carrie?
Couple of things. We as well have an open house next Tuesday. It's a very busy week at City Hall for it's the community house and reception for the city manager finalists. That'll be from 6 to 7:30, so we also pushed that out today pretty heavily. The charter passed with flying colors, so thank you all for your work on that. That's effective January 2023, so we'll repost and get that all in the shape it should be.
That reminds me, that's what I talked about Band of Brothers is Tuesday, not Wednesday. So I'll go back to them.
Okay.
I'll send an email out.
Board recruitment is going well. There was an article in the Nugget last week, which was very successful. So at this point, we have enough applicants to fill all positions. So, and they're coming in pretty hot and heavy over the last few days. So that's good to know. We'll start scheduling and working out interviews. One of the things that we have done in the past, I just want to verify that you want to continue this, is the interview panels usually consist of the director who is in charge of the board, one of their staff members potentially, or somebody from the board, depending upon, and then the counselor who is the advocate for that board. So if you're still comfortable with that, so Gary, you would be the parks, Councilor Lum, you would be the public works and so on. And then planning commission is the only one that's outlying, and Mayor Preeden was on that last time and has had some interest in doing that again. So if you are comfortable with that, we will cover the counselor's role on each board that way. Does that sound like it would work?
Is there anybody on two boards or anything
No.
like that? So it's just one each and you don't have,
I'm a
you don't have to worry about it. You're
free person.
Yeah,
No.
great.
So we'll start
Cover for
coordinating.
anybody.
And there's enough applicants to
There are enough
To
applicants.
interview.
Oh, yes, on every board. So there's some people that are applying for multiple boards, which is great. And I'll probably go back to them and see if they really want to do 4 interviews. If not, and then budget committee is the only one that.
Everyone actually applied for the budget committee.
27 people.
Just kidding.
No, a handful of folks, and Joe tends to just make the phone calls on those. They're pretty restrictive of what we can have and not, and usually we have the same amount of applicants as open positions we have. It's pretty typical for that board, so. I'll start moving that forward. Interviews will be starting probably on December 1st and rolling into that following week.
Jury duty.
All right,
Again?
I have it at the end of the month.
okay. So
They're
we
not
can
gonna
work- we
pick
can
you.
work with that, with the
And
parks.
so I might not be able to do the interviews for the parks.
Okay,
Sorry, Nancy.
so Nancy May or somebody,
I'd love to.
we'll see who we
What's your
get.
favorite board?
And I think that's all, really, I mean, there's a lot going on, but that's in a nutshell, what we've been working on, a lot of,
Next week's crazy.
next week
It
is
is.
busy.
The mayor's requesting a cot in the cubicle back there. Because I think I'm gonna be in City Hall every day next
We
week.
ordered 10 bags of coffee.
I know,
And
I
two
did.
more crabs.
Grab my mug out of there somewhere wherever it's hiding.
I did extend your meeting, as you might have seen before this meeting, from 1:30 to
4,
4.
yeah.
So apparently it's gonna be a longer day than we thought.
8:30 to 4 on Thursday.
Breakfast and lunch with us, and maybe
Lucky you
cocktail hour
guys.
after.
Pizza and pizza.
That's executive session for the interviews.
So we didn't have any candidates drop out.
We have not.
Not yet.
Well, I mean, we got the election results. I mean, you'd think that would clear things up.
Okay, thank you. I know you're working hard, we appreciate it. It's been a kind of a crazy fall here. You, and Joe too, of course. Scott, finish this thing off.
How much do you guys want to know about zero lot line development
We don't need to know.
right
today.
now? Should I send you some information, email?
Okay,
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of standards on it, so it's interesting.
thank you.
Okay,
Anything else?
yeah, I can give you some other stuff. It was requested that I give you an update on the Parks Master Plan. It was originally scheduled to go, I believe, on November 3rd, but because of Sunset Meadows, application's been continued twice now. That's kind of thrown off the Planning Commission agendas. And so it looks, and it's scheduled to go now on December 15th, but that's after Sunset Meadows. And I was talking with the chair this morning, and he didn't think that was feasible to get it on the same night. So what I'm trying to say is that it looks like it's going to slip into January for the adoption of that.
Sorry, Nancy.
So,
All right with that?
She'll still attend.
I'm okay with that. I'll come and voice my opinion.
yeah,
You can always send us an email
I'll
if you
take
have something
10
strong.
minutes of visitor communication.
3 minutes.
Sign one form, Nancy, and another form, Conley.
There you go.
Thanks for the update.
sure. And speaking of Sunset Meadows, just wanted to just give a little refresher on, ex parte contact, since it's a small town and people may be contacting you guys relative to that. Because that application may come to you guys eventually, you want to make sure that you kind of keep all that ex parte contact, apart from, you don't want to engage in it, in other words. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but best to direct those folks to staff. And if you do end up having those conversations, those are things you just want to disclose at a public hearing, that you've had it. And
If someone talks to you, that's pretty much okay. It's like the talking back part's the.
I would try to limit it, just try to say, hey, I might have to hear this later, so I want to preserve my ability to be able to be unbiased.
And I was approached back 2 weeks ago about it. Someone cornered me for 20 minutes. And so, I'll disclose that, even though I said, didn't give me any information, but
Can't listen.
it's citizen catch it.
People, people give their opinions and you just go, thanks for your opinion.
Actually, I couldn't have gotten a word in edgewise anyway.
There you go.
And it wasn't me.
Awesome. Thanks for the reminder. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
I sent, after the last meeting, on the workforce housing grant agreement, we got the direction from council to go forward on that. So it's now in legal's hands to give us a draft agreement based on, incorporating all those elements that we want to see in it. It's scheduled to, hopefully, if everything goes well, bring it back to the council on the 30th as a work session. And then it'd be optimum if we could get it approved before the end of December, the December 14th meeting. But there's some contingencies there. And obviously, we have to, run it by the Northwest Housing to make sure, that they would sign that agreement. So there's some give and take. And I think we're going to meet with the county. Is it next week?
I reached out to them again today, so hopefully next week. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Make sure that we understand completely the any strings attached to the money, the ARPA funds. So that's proceeding along. And then that's about it. Code enforcement, lighting issues are starting to come up now with daylight savings time. And just want to let you know, we're still working on one of the more prominent code enforcement issues in town. It went to court. The person was cited and it went to court in Redmond. And the judge, we're working with the judge to try to get his disposition on that, working with him. So without getting into too many specifics, just want to let you know that that's not moving fast, but it's still moving. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay.
Oh, no, I guess, I'm sorry, there is one more thing. I don't know if I told you this. Amy and I went to Pendleton to do the presentation and it went off really well. And Emmy did a great job. She pretty much put it all together. All I had to do was show up and Nicole was there in the audience. We gave her a little credit. So just wanted to know that went off great and it was good PR for Sisters. And we're not alone out there. There's other little towns going through similar situations like we are. So we talked about getting together and talking about issues and potential solutions to issues.
And I happened to talk to Emmy myself, and she was very happy about being able to do that. And she said she made some contacts, and it's bearing fruit.
Yeah.
Contacts as well, which is great when you have.
We don't want too many.
Somebody with
We don't want too many
yeah.
people to find out how awesome she is, though.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Sorry, I redacted from the record.
Yeah, no, it was pretty impressive for her first planning conference meeting that she's ever attended. She spoke at it, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, any questions, anybody? All right, it's up to us. I'm gonna go first because I have something that I wanted to talk to everybody about. I was talking with Carrie and Nancy about our schedule coming up. We actually still have a city council meeting set for December 28th. But we've kind of looked at the schedule and there's nothing on there yet. And it doesn't look like there's gonna be anything ready for it anyway, and it's in a terrible week for most people anyway. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to see if you guys wouldn't mind just canceling that meeting altogether, officially getting it off the schedule. Just because there's really not a lot going on that week. I mean, I know we have a lot of stuff now and we have stuff sliding, but there's nothing that would slide to December 28th that wouldn't be ready anyway. So if that's okay, would you guys mind canceling that meeting, or do you think there's a reason to keep it? I don't think Carrie has a good reason to keep it. I don't know.
One of the things that came up, it is a tough time of year for staff, but it also is, there's a lot of big projects going up, and I don't think we want to throw ordinances on a December 28th meeting with public hearings, because there's so many people not in town, and that transparency might not look like you would like it to look. That was one of the considerations as well.
Yeah.
When we're looking at a new city manager coming on board in January, correct?
Potentially that would be the,
Not in December.
I don't know.
I don't see that happening either, but that would, the only reason I would see keeping that on the docket would be if there was a need to have something happen around that event if it were occurring.
We have that special meeting
The
next
30th.
Friday
Yeah.
that would take care of hiring business.
Right.
And then we wouldn't need another,
No, and if we did, the 30th or the 14th
would work,
fall in line with
contract
that, yeah.
information.
Contract.
Okay.
I want to say we kept that December, or added the December 28th because we thought the park master plan and
The water.
would be
Yep.
coming through.
Yep.
And we needed it, but those have fallen through the cracks, so.
I think we should enjoy Christmas, between
Fine.
Christmas and,
You're not gonna get any argument from me.
okay, good, good,
I'm good.
okay,
Yeah.
So I'll
thank you.
put that on the consent agenda for the next meeting as an approval to cancel that meeting.
I'll be in town, so if you have to call an emergency meeting for some reason, it'll be
Actually, I'm
somebody.
in town too, which is weird. I'm
Yeah, so
usually
we
not.
can,
And I think I'm here too. I'm not sure if we're here at the coast. but
Maybe we'll
could
just
you
have our
guys-
own meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go out.
We'll have a going away party.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, that's just,
there you go.
no, we're just kidding.
And shut the door.
Okay, that's good, and I really don't have a lot of them, and I did want to thank you for all your service over the last 7 years or 8 years or whatever it's been. Congratulate you, congratulations, congratulate Susan Cobb. I'm looking forward to working with her and bringing her on board. I think she's gonna be the 2-year term, and I made it too, so thank you. And that's it, that's all I got.
I got nothing.
Just a quick update on the Parks Board meeting. The bulk of it was actually a very clever, and you saw it, exercise. I think we did it side by side, where the board chair, whose name eludes me, I'm sorry. Dana, yeah. He went out and went around town. Everybody had adopted a park. He went around town and shot pictures of all the different parks in the city, something that might be in them. So like he shot the picture of the tree on top of the play structure, Village Green, which we both didn't get, and things like that. And then there was a list of the parks, and you had to go through and identify which one was which. And you didn't win anything other than bragging rights. And it was actually quite clever and fun. And we got talking about the fact that that would be something to think about, that we might put together, not necessarily ask the DMO to put together, or we could provide it, that would be sort of a passport type thing for tourists to wander through town, go to this store, get your passport stamped, or find this, find that, just to kind of start to do get some of our guests in parts of town that might not normally be in, off of Main Street and onto Hood, or off of Hood and onto I mean, off of Cascade and onto Hood or onto Main, and kind of are some of our neighborhoods. I mean, would be fun, I think. So it was great. That's all we did. It was, and last but not least, they have started finishing up the fencing. They were working last week. Did a little bit and then they stopped. Probably got a little too cold or for the cement, I don't know.
It's just scheduling on their part.
Yeah. So, and with the big water we had this week, the creek will really look nice with the work that was done.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take Nancy's place on, updates of the campground and stuff. She's been 6 years of it, so.
Yeah.
You got nothing? Your turn.
My turn. Congratulations to the both of you for
Thank you.
another 4 years. Enjoy it.
He says
Oh,
with a
she's
smile.
still-
It's
Oh.
like,
Rubbing
get the
that in.
hamster wheel out.
Yeah.
No, I'm being very sincere. Enjoy it. And then I wanted to thank the mayor for all the extra work and hours and letters that you respond to in your free time. I think people don't realize how much time you and I spend depending upon the week. It's a 20 or 25-hour volunteer week. And I don't think that you get credit for the lovely responses that you give to people who send a letter or an email or a phone call. You do a very nice job of responding of all the mayors that I've worked with. And I think you're the fourth one. You by far have been the best, and that includes me as an interim or a pro tem, mayor pro tem. That was my least favorite part, was responding to the emails that came in, and you do a very nice job with that, so thank you for that.
Hold it together.
The public comments tonight.
Mhm.
We all have triggers. Gary was at Thurston when that school incident happened. I happen to know the girl that was spoken of tonight, and I have a son that died on the Forest Service Road here in town. And I just find it very disconcerting and offensive about what was said. And I hope that it doesn't happen again. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So thank you for understanding my leaving the meeting.
No, it's perfectly fine.
That's it.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I figured that's what it was, Nancy, and
Pardon me.
I felt for you.
Thank you.
No need to talk about it anymore?
Nope.
All right. We're adjourned. Thank you.